my mom saying, hey, like, the only chore that I ask you to do is clean up the dog poop while I'm gone. I was like, all right, bet, I can do that. It's pretty easy. Like, she doesn't even go out in the yard. We play in the yard. There's no way she's gonna know if I don't clean up the dog poop, right? She gets home and she's like, hey, did you clean up the dog poop? I was like, yeah, I cleaned it up. And she's like, really? Because if I go out there and find dog poop, you're gonna pick it up with your bare hands. And I was like, Mom, no, I cleaned up the dog poop. Sure enough, she comes back in, she's like, hey, I saw some dog poop out there. And I was like, dang it, what am I gonna do? So she made us go out there, no joke, pick up 3 pieces of dog poop with our bare hands. So my one brother's over there, like, he's got 2 sticks, he's like trying to pick this thing up and carry it over to the fire pit. I'm over there with like a leaf and I'm just, bleh. My other brother, he's like middle child, right? Typical middle child. He's like, what do I care? Chucks that thing. He's like, it's fine, I'll wash my hands. No joke, this actually happened. And as crazy as that is, like, I think that my friends had some like even crazier stories. Sometimes parents are just odd. They're just odd. I went over to have dinner with one of my friends one time, and like, her mom's telling me about all these things, and she's like, oh, I just missed the baby stage. She's like, oh, I saved like her first chunk of hair when she got her hair cut. I saved it and I put it in an ornament. We hang it on the tree every year. I'm like, okay, all right, cool. And then she's like, no. She's like, and you know those baby teeth? And I was like, what about them baby teeth? What about them? Because please tell me you did not save those baby teeth. And she's like, I got a little box in the basement that I've saved all 20 of her baby teeth. And I'm like, okay. She's like, you want to see it? You want to see the baby teeth? I was like, no, but kind of, because I want to know if it's real. No joke, in the middle of dinner, she pulls up this box of baby teeth. And I'm like, that's nasty. I'm sorry, but if your parents are saving your baby teeth, I don't trust them. No, I'm not trusting them. And I was like, hey, so like, I thought we had 20 baby teeth. There's like 24 in here. And she's like, oh, 4 of those are her sisters, but I just didn't know where to put them. And I'm like, this is so gross. And you guys laugh, you think I'm kidding, but we actually went to Top Golf. We went to Top Golf earlier this summer, and you guys know how Sav likes to play that game, like pick it up and preach? Yeah, that's like her favorite thing right now. It's a pretty cool game. I'm all for it until she's like, hey, pick it up and preach. You guys know what this is? This is the box that people keep their baby teeth in. And I think we have a picture, a full-blown picture of it. If not, I'll open it. Literally has a hole for each and every one of these teeth. Yeah. Yeah, oh yeah, look, there's the tweezers, and there's the little, you can put, there's a space for every one of them. And the top says like, oh, your birth weight, your birth height, best wishes for the baby. Like, this thing is serious. People don't mess around. She's like, hey, Lex, like, pick up and preach. And I'm like, I don't even know what to say right now. I don't know what to say. And I was like, Sav, I'll just, whatever you choose for me here at this Goodwill, I'll just include it in like a big sermon, right? I seriously had to think on what I was going to preach for that thing forever. And I was like, no, Sav, trust. Like, I'll do it. Guys, you know when someone says trust, you cannot trust them. I don't know why she trusted that I was going to bring this box up on stage and speak about it, because I have no idea what to say right now. We were at Week of Hope, and I didn't know if I was going to share this, but I think it's hilarious. We did like this foot washing thing, right? Super cool, really awesome. We had these big bowls, and they were all sitting in the kitchen, and everybody's like, dude, we need some popcorn. So I walk into the kitchen, and Reese is like eating popcorn out of this foot bowl. And I was like, Reese, dude, like, we just washed feet in that. He's like, I cleaned it out, trust. You know that he just swished some water in it and said, yeah, it's clean enough. It's clean enough. So gross. So gross. Oh, yeah. But I honestly think, guys, that sometimes we hold on to some really, really silly things. Whether that be, teeth, for that matter. Again, I just don't trust parents that keep people's teeth. Whether it be teeth, whether it be money, it be accomplishments, like we hold on to some really, really unnecessary things, right? And we think, yeah, this is gonna help me out. Like I just have to hold on to this so hard. But like, you really think that you're gonna get up to heaven and some angel's gonna be like, dude, you save all 20 of your baby teeth? No. The only thing that's gonna get you into heaven is your walk with Christ, right? That relationship with Christ. Yeah, there you go. And that's why I pick it up and preach, thank you. No, I'm kidding. Honestly though, like sometimes we hold on to some really unnecessary things. Maybe that's, fear. Maybe it's doubt. And honestly, guys, like, we're so afraid of some things that we don't even know what step to take. We've been talking all summer about taking that next step. When to go, stop, stay, all the things. Because we want details. We're too afraid because we don't want details. But honestly, we don't need details. We need faith. We need trust. So that's what we're talking about today. Trust. How do we trust God? Why do we trust God? What do we trust God with? And actually, I think that there's a story in Genesis that shows exactly what trust in God looks like. So I'm going to bring out my beginner's Bible here, and we are actually going to read this kid story of Noah and the ark together. So this comes from Genesis 6-9, and it says, we have that, perfect. After Adam and Eve left the garden, many people were born. The people kept doing bad things, and they forgot about God, except Noah. Noah loved God. God was sad that everyone but Noah forgot about him. He told Noah about his plan to start over. Make yourself an ark, God says. Here's how. So Noah and his family began working on the ark. When it was done, God said, take your family and 2 of every animal into the ark. Animals creeped, crawled, hopped, and galloped onto Noah's new boat. After everyone was inside, the rain began to fall and fall and fall. The ark rocked this way and rocked that way on the rising river. Finally, the rain stopped. Water covered everything. Everyone inside the ark was safe. Noah and his family were very happy. One day, Noah sent a dove to find land. It flew and flew, but never found any. So it came back. 1 week later, Noah sent the dove out again. This time, it brought him an olive leaf. Noah cheered. It must have found land. The ark finally came to rest on top of a mountain. God told Noah to leave the ark. Noah and his family praised God. God put a beautiful rainbow in the sky. It was a sign of his promise to never flood the whole earth again. I'm sure that most of us have heard this story, probably that exact same one, right? It's a story of happiness and thankfulness, like gratitude that God, saved us from this big flood, right? That he loved Noah and loved us so much that he wanted to save humankind, right? Even after all the wickedness, all the brokenness, and all of that, right? But actually, I think sometimes that we remember the rainbow, remember the peace at the end. And actually, today, I want to look at what Noah went through. Because Noah seriously had to trust God so much in this season. Now, guys, Noah was 500 years old when he started building the boat. And he had to trust that God would provide. It's one of our first points. Noah had to trust that God would provide. Noah was probably seen as crazy, as a lunatic, like, why in the world is this man building this ginormous boat in the middle of a desert? It doesn't rain. It's hot. There's no rain at all. So, why in the world would he be building a ginormous boat? And especially one that was this big. And it's not like he just built the boat and then the rain came. This boat took 100 years to 120 years to build. It was huge. It was the size of 1.5 football fields. It was 85 feet wide, 50 feet tall. Ginormous. And I think we have a picture of that, too. Yeah, that's little 8th grade Lex here. But this is how big that boat is, right? And I'm standing across a pond. This is huge. It took him 100 to 120 years to build this boat. He wouldn't have been able to work. He would have had to completely focus on making this boat exactly how God told him to build it. So I'm sure that he had to trust that God would provide the rain, that God would provide the materials, and that God would provide for his family while he spent time building this boat. Because if he was spending all of this time building this boat, how is his family going to get taken care of? So he had to trust that God would provide. And honestly, guys, maybe we're in that season right now. Maybe we need to just trust that God is going to provide, whether that be financially, whether that be with school, with their classes, like we need to trust that God is going to provide for us in the area that he has called us. Second point, Noah had to trust that God would bring the company. What do I mean by this? He had his family, right? But I'm sure that even then he was still lonely because the only support that he had was his wife and his kids. Everybody else was doing something wicked. They're just, not in a good spot. Nobody supported what he was doing. He was probably mocked and scorned and all of these things. But then also, he had to trust that God would bring the animals, that kind of company. Because there's no way that he was going to call all these elephants by himself. He wasn't going to go call it to the dinosaurs. I'm sure he didn't have some turkey call. He had to trust that God was going to bring him the company on this boat. And enough of them to provide. And maybe, guys, right now, we're in that season. Maybe we trust that God's going to bring us all the things that we need, but we don't trust that he's going to bring us through our loneliness. We're stuck. We feel empty. We feel alone. We're not alone. A, we have God. B, everybody in this room, we're all together here, right? Why can't we build each other up? But he had to trust that in this season of loneliness, that God was going to bring him the company. And then Noah had to trust in God's safety. Guys, there was going to be a huge storm, that not just, flooded the streets, but flooded the entire earth, over every mountain. Everything that God had created was going to be wiped out. People, animals, plants, gone. All of creation. So I'm sure it would be really easy for Noah to get super discouraged and be like, ooh, what if I just fall overboard? I'm not going to be able to go find land. Or what if, the wind, takes me down? Or what if the rain? Or what if this? Or what if that? Or what if the animals eat me on the boat? Because he was on the boat for 371-ish days. Ferocious beasts were on that boat. I'm sure he was, somewhat afraid of, oh my goodness, what if I get eaten? What's going to happen to my family? What's going to happen to the human race? There's all these patterns that, of worry that could have crossed through his mind, but instead he trusted in God's safety. And I think that there's some of us here that need that. Because we might feel safe here when we walk into the church with this group of friends, but maybe if we're honest, some of our home lives are not safe. Or some of the friends that we go back to don't do safe things, get us into trouble. I bet that's scary. I've experienced some of that. But maybe we just need to trust that God is going to keep us safe. Or if we're not safe in the place that we're in, that God is going to give us the courage to find somewhere safe to go. Give us the strength, the comfort. I think Noah also had to trust that God would rebuild the ruins. As I said before, this rain was going to wipe out everything. This flood wipe out everything. And to the extent that, it's not like the rain came and there's a song the rain came down and the floods came up. It's not like it just happened and then it was done and it was over with. The rain was, or the flood was there for a while. So everything was gone. It was gone. They come back to earth and things dried up, right? But have you ever seen the videos and the pictures of after a hurricane comes through? How disaster, it's just all messed up, right? I'm sure that that's what it looked like when he got down to the earth. And there was no way that he was going to rebuild that all by himself without trusting that God was going to rebuild the ruins. Or rebuild the population, or rebuild his shelter, whatever that is. And maybe we're in that stage right now where we just came out of a storm. God got us through it. We were broken down. But now what? We have to trust that God is going to help us find the right friends. He's going to help us find the right college. He's going to help us find, the next, right? The next step. He's going to rebuild the ruins. And in the end of the story, we see the dove. The dove wandered, and the dove flew, didn't find anything, came back to Noah, right? Came back to a safe spot. Then he went out again, He found an olive branch, found peace, came back. I think the dove in this situation represents something so much deeper. Because the dove wanders and the dove flies until he finds a resting space, but why can't we find that resting space also? Sometimes we're just wandering. We're so lost, we just need peace, right? I encourage you not to give up and to run back to your Father. Find your rest in him. Find your peace in him. Before I end tonight, I kind of want to talk about this guy, pretty cool guy. His name is William Whitting Borden. I doubt most of you have heard of him. He was a man from a really, really wealthy family. And his family he was supposed to go into finance. He was going to graduate high school, and he was going to go into finance. He's going to do all these big things. He was super smart. His family was going to pay for him to go to Yale. But his family gifted him a trip around the world for his graduation present. And while he was there, immediately he felt called into helping those in need. And so he wrote back to his family, and he's like, this is awesome. God has called me here to just help people in need. And his family's like, yeah, right. That's just such a waste of gifts, waste of your talents. You should just come back home, go to school, go back into finance like you're supposed to. And so he wrote in his Bible, no reserves. As in, he's not going to change what he knows he's been called to. No reserves. He then attended Yale for 4 years and started a small prayer group with one friend. Over the extent of those 4 years, that prayer group of 2 people turned into 1,000. 1,000 people that attended Yale. And at this time, Yale only had 1,300 people. That was 300. The size of this youth group was the size of the people out of all of Yale that did not attend this prayer group. Pretty cool. And those that knew him said that he was spiritually advanced, that he loved, that even when he wasn't just leading this prayer group, they would see him with widows, with orphans, with drunks on the streets. He just evangelized. He went out and he took every opportunity of where he was to spread the gospel. And so he told his family again that he was going to go into ministry, he was going to be a missionary, and he wrote in his Bible, no retreats. Even though he had offers in the United States to stay and to do ministry, he knew he was supposed to be a missionary. That's what God had told him to do, and he trusted God. No retreats. He actually went to Princeton Seminary in New Jersey for graduate studies, and after he was done there, he was determined to go to China and speak the word of God to Muslims. So he set out, to do what God had called him to do, and he stopped in Egypt to learn how to speak Arabic before he went over there. And actually, a couple months into learning Egypt, he contracted spinal meningitis and passed away a month later. However, it wasn't a failure, right? He had reached out to so many people here in the United States. He had met so many people across seas. He had spread the word of God anywhere and everywhere that he could. And some people were really, really upset. Why in the world would he be so content, going over and doing what God had called him to do for him to just die, right? So they got all of his stuff back, and they were reading in his Bible, right before his funeral. They had read, no reserves, no retreats, and then under that, 2 more words, no regrets. Guys, whether you are called to a life of ministry, nursing, law enforcement, construction, waiting on people, zookeeping, I don't care what that is, guys. You are always called to live a Christ-filled life. Always. Christianity is not just a cross necklace. It's not just a Bible on the nightstand that you never read. Christianity is seeking God's ways and his plans and his will for your life over your will for your life. That's your obligation as a Christian. And it's not just this, oh my goodness, I have to do that, or I have to trust God. You get to trust God. You get to walk in alignment with his plan for you, knowing that it is better than your own. You are going to be torn down. People are going to make fun of you. People are going to, think he is crazy for building a boat in the desert. but you're going to be obedient to God anyways because it's beautiful. So amazing. Walking in a relationship with Christ, best thing you'll ever do, I promise you. Each and every day, we get to wake up and make that choice. To follow Jesus, to take a step in the next direction. So we've talked a lot this summer about steps, your next steps. And so maybe some of you already know what that next step is. You know if you're supposed to stay, if you're supposed to go, what you're supposed to do. Maybe not. Maybe that next step for you is just following Christ for the first time ever. Praise God for that. Welcome home. Maybe you believe in Christ and you've been walking with him for a while, but you haven't found that here's where I'm supposed to be obedient. So actually, there are tables in the back, and here in a second, I'm going to give you guys an invitation to go take an envelope off of that table. I want to be really clear too, not everybody will take an envelope. There's enough back there for everybody. If you want to, you can. Not everybody will. This is not something that I want you to be like, oh, I have to respond because my friends are doing it. I have to go back there, I have to grab an envelope, I have to open it. I genuinely believe that some of you will not grab envelopes, or if you grab an envelope, maybe some of you won't ever open it. Maybe some of you will pick up that envelope and you'll wait weeks, months before opening it. But I do want to encourage you, if you pick up this envelope and you open it, to do what the card says. There's going to be a couple different, I think there's 8 different options of what could be in that card. I don't know what it is. That's between you and God. There's opportunities for tithing. There's opportunities for serving. There's opportunities for praying. There's opportunities for gratitude. There's so many opportunities on those cards. And I genuinely believe that God is, if you open one of those, that God is prompting you and he's calling you to whatever is in that card. So they're actually gonna sing a song, and before you get up, I want you just to pray and ask God, God, do you want me to pick up this card? And if you decide to go pick one up, if he prompts you to pick one up, then pray again, God, will you please just help me be obedient to whatever is in this card? Will you help this be something that I need to walk and further my relationship with you? And if he leads you to opening it, then my prayer for you is that you open it, that you follow what it says, and that you genuinely understand that it is going to bring you so much closer to God if you do it with your whole heart. If you do whatever is on that card, whatever your next step is in life, period, I hope and I pray that you do it with no retreats, no reserves, and no regrets. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to invite you to stand and sing, and if you feel led, you can go back and grab a card.